You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 223, When It's Really Over. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Welcome, Braveheart. I'm so excited you're here to listen to the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast. This is the Netflix of breakups, short, powerful, and actionable episodes that help you along your breakup journey. If you're interested in a more hands-on approach, I'd love to invite you to check out our free on-demand video training called How to Fast Forward Getting Over Your Ex Without Wasting Months or Years Feeling Jealous, Angry, or Unlovable. You'll learn how to stop letting your ex live rent-free in your mind, even if you want to get back together later, how to absolutely be sure that your life will be better than the one that you had with your ex post-breakup without it taking time, and lastly, the secret to feeling completely neutral about your ex without having to go no contact. Grab it for free at breakupcoachdorothy.com. Let's begin the episode. Hello, my beautiful brave hearts. How is everyone doing? I am so excited to talk with you today about something that came up for one of my amazing brave hearts inside of the Get Over Your Ex program. We had an awesome coaching call last night, and I have been just thinking about it all night. I felt like a kid on Christmas. I couldn't wake up to get work done. So it was just so profound, and it was one of those I have really favorite moments from time to time where it'll click for someone and you can see it in their face. And to me, that's some of my best, moments. I love the work that we do together. And when it clicks like that and you can see the click in someone's face, it's just, oh my God, it's amazing. I'm obsessed with it. So this Braveheart has been crushing it. She's gone through all of the modules. She's in week 10. She's done all the pillars. And the last pillar was really about, is really about building your bigger and better life and helping you overcome all those limitations you feel like you have that, are keeping you from creating the life that you wanted with your ex. And it's one of my favorite pillars. And so last week, her and I were coaching a lot around this pillar, and she was feeling very excited about her future. Then Saturday morning, we had a vision board party where we all got together and created vision boards for the year. And I'm saying all this and I'm I feel like my clients are my best friends. I hang out with them probably more than I hang out with friends outside of work. But anyways, after the vision board party, her ex reaches out, which happens so often. I feel like I see my clients doing so well and they're so, I like to use the word magnetic, that it's hard to not see their transformation. It's hard not to see how great they're doing. And that's the moment where I see the exes come back. And to give you a little bit of background here, she came to the program and wasn't even broken up with her ex yet. She was in that, on again, off again relationship, and she wanted to get married and start a family, but her ex constantly had reasons not to, and they came up to so much resistance around it. And she's tried to break up with her ex multiple times in the past, but it was never, to the point where quote unquote stuck. And so I think it was around week 1 or 2 into the program where she decided, okay, this really isn't for me. I'm going to break up. And then she went through all the content, and here she is, week 10, excited about her bigger and better life. And her ex comes back, and he ends up texting her. He sends flowers. They talk on the phone. It was a whole thing. And when she got on for coaching, which was on Monday, today's Tuesday, it was on Monday, she was like, this happened and I've been reeling ever since. And I've been doing a lot of thought work around this. And I feel like the fact that I'm reeling about this and I can't figure out my way out of the weeds with this, it makes me feel like all the work that I have put in hasn't worked. And I know she's not the only one who's put in a lot of work when it comes to getting over your ex and moving on and being your better self. I mean, it's like going to be a lifelong journey. That's like a whole other topic. I could do a whole other topic about that. But I know so many of you have put in a lot of work, and moments like this can feel really discouraging. And so I told her that I wanted to talk about that, but I also really wanted to talk about what this story was that she was struggling with when it comes to her ex, and the situation that happened. So her ex comes back, and he had said something along the lines of, I can tell you're really over this and I won't reach out to you again. And what she made that whole experience mean is now this is really over. And, I've talked a lot about in previous episodes, in my programs, in coaching, and there's a whole module on closure and the story around it's really over, and how that is an optional story and you never know if it's really over. And I don't remember if it was her or someone else telling me that. No, it was someone else in a different coaching session yesterday where, a mom and dad of a client of mine, not her mom and dad, but her friend's mom and dad, got a divorce. And then years later, the kids are all grown up and they ended up getting married again and they're back together. So you never really know if it's over. And we could do coaching around changing your idea that it's never really over, but then that leaves this kind of openness for hope, and that becomes its own whole other story. But what was so fascinating about this client in particular is I had known that she'd gone through pillar 3. She had created closure. She had done her funeral for her ex. She had reduced desire and attachment, and she was in a really good place just a couple of days prior. So I felt like this was not even about her ex, and I had to ask her some deeper questions. I was like, this is time to go a little bit deeper than, is it really over? Is it not really over? I wanted to go deeper with this, which is what we did. And I asked her a pretty hard question that I really would love for you to consider asking yourself is, why is it a problem if it's really over? At this point, like I said, she's pretty much over her ex. She was right there. It's like the cusp. And I'm like, why is it scary if it's really over? And we had to go through a series of why is that a problem? And this is a technique that I use a lot of the time, because we have like these blanket thoughts and then we have thoughts that are a little bit deeper. And I asked her, why is it a problem if it's really over? And the first thing she gave me was, well, I'm never going to speak to him again. So then I asked her, why is that scary? Why is it scary to think about never speaking to him again? And she said, because I'm afraid to fully move on. And so I said, why is moving on so scary? Why is moving forward scary? And then she goes, I'm afraid of rejection. So then I'm like, okay, so why is rejection scary? And ultimately she landed on, I'm going to get hurt again. Boom. Boom. Do you see how many layers deep that was? I'm going to get hurt again. So essentially, her brain was saying, deriving from this whole experience of the message, the flowers, what her brain was saying is, if I'm not with my ex, I'm going to get hurt again. How many of you are thinking that right now? And the fascinating part is, isn't the real truth that if I stay spinning on my ex, I guarantee hurt again? What? Just gonna give you a moment to absorb that. So what was so fascinating about this situation that I see a lot is, once someone is almost over their ex or on the cusp of being over their ex, or maybe even already over their ex, something happens and they make it mean I'm not over their ex. And they start spinning and ruminating about their ex. And then the reason they do that is because spinning on their ex is actually more comfortable to the brain than addressing the fear of getting hurt again in the future by someone new. Spinning about the ex is more comfortable than dealing with the fear of rejection. Spinning about the ex is more comfortable than addressing anything new, really. It kind of reminds me of school projects. I remember being in grad school and I would have, I don't remember, maybe you have 3 or 4 or 5 classes going on at the same time, and they all have their own assignments, right? And I remember how I would prioritize homework. I would always prioritize homework with what I felt the most comfortable with. I would pick the homework assignment that I felt the most familiar and comfortable with, and I would do that first instead of diving into the project that I had no bearings with. And I'd always kick myself afterwards because as soon as I start that new project and get my hands wet and get in there, it was never really as bad or as scary as I thought it would be. And I always wished I had more time to work on it, but I wouldn't gift that to myself. So now the cool thing I think about all of this in this coaching session was in the beginning of the call, she was making this mean that everything I've done hasn't worked. And so at the very end, I asked her, how has all of this shown you that everything you've done has worked? And it was so obvious. It was so clear. And immediately she laughs and she says, this was the time I didn't go back. I'm not back together with my ex. This is the time I didn't get back together with him. Like, what? That was the proof that it worked. And that all, I just think it was such a profound moment for her that all the work she had put in for the last 10 weeks, in 10 weeks, also, I love time. I love talking about time. So it's like profound to me that in 10 weeks, she reversed something that she's been doing for so long, for years. But the work that she put in for the last 10 weeks has really made a difference. And it was so awesome. And I know for those listening who have been in those on again, off again relationships, it's hard to even fathom like being the person who actually leaves and leaves for good. You know what I mean? It's so huge. So there are really 2 points that I want to hit home with you today about Braveheart that I want you to like keep in mind throughout your breakup journey. And they're kind of 2 different lessons, but bucketed into one. The first one is, I really want you to just take a moment and ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? What happens if it's really over? Why am I so afraid of that? And ask those follow-up, like, why is that a problem? Why does that make me afraid? Why does that? Because you noticed how long it took or how many deeper questions we had to get at like the root cause of what it really was. So what does that mean for you when you think about it's really over? And what will you have to face if it is really over? And can you focus on that instead of your ex? Can it be about your journey instead of your ex? Noticed how for this client, it really had nothing to do with the ex and had everything to do with the fact that she was afraid she was going to get hurt again in the unknown, in something that felt completely uncomfortable and not familiar because it wasn't what she always went back to. And number 2, if you've done work to get over your ex, and then something happens and you feel like you're backsliding, I call it sliding backwards, or like you've taken steps back, or it was all for nothing. And I just want you to know that it wasn't all for nothing. All the work that you've put in thus far, listening to the podcast, I'm sure maybe you've done some journaling, maybe you're meditating, you're doing some of the things. And I think all of that's important, and never discount the work that you've put in, even if it hasn't gotten you to where you want to be. And everything you've done still stands and is still there. And I'd even question or ask yourself, how has what I've already done worked? Like my client did. You are doing the work and keep going. You have got this. All right, my beautiful brave hearts. I love you so much. I hope you're having an amazing day. I cannot wait to talk with you next week. We've got some really, really fun things coming up. I want to start doing, but I kind of want to do a live 5-day training coming up in maybe February for Valentine's Day week. I feel like that would be great. We've got Heartbreak Hotel, which is opening up. Our first retreat will be taking place in April, and I'll let you guys know about all of that if you're interested in something like that. And I just can't say how grateful I am that I get to be a part of your journey. So thank you all so much. I love you times a million. I love being able to be here and help you in whatever way I can. So I will talk to you all later. Have a great week. If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you'd like to learn how to fast forward getting over your ex without spending months or years feeling angry, jealous, or unlovable, I would love to personally invite you to participate in our free on-demand video training, where we share 3 mind-blowing moments that will forever change your experience with your breakup or divorce. Come check it out at breakupcoachdorothy.com.